There's more to life than what you're living.
There was something there that really worked, you know.
When I looked at Tony, I just fell in love with him.
I would definitely recommend this to other kids. It's a lot of fun.
Entertainment Tonight is revealing all the secrets you never knew about the stars of Who's the Boss.
After, I think, 3 or 4 weeks, they took us off the air.
And we were getting killed.
Why the show was almost canceled in the first season, and rumors about Tony Danza's tantrums on the set.
He was, had a little bit of a temper, and, we'd watch our steps.
Never before seen footage from the cast's final bow.
Ladies and gentlemen, Tony Danza!
And the lost outtakes of Judith Light bearing all.
Alyssa Milano, from America's sweetheart to sex symbol.
She felt that what she had to do was shed her good girl image.
And how a nude photo controversy led to her fight against internet porn.
I'm glad that I opened up that door to everyone to get out there and not be taken advantage of.
The day Danny Pintaro came out to his co-stars, and how E.T. helped him announce his sexuality to the world.
If that's his choice and how he feels, then I have to support him.
Tony Danza's nightmare year, how he lost his house and nearly died in a horrific accident.
It just scares you, and you don't know what your life is going to be like.
The sitcom's young stars in their TV classroom, one cast member suicidal fan, and what happened on the set that brought the show's leading lady to tears.
I won't go there if you don't go there. I said, just help me get through this.
We are taking you inside Who's the Boss.
This is Entertainment Tonight, the most watched entertainment news program in the world.
Hello and welcome to Entertainment Tonight as we reveal the stories behind one of TV's most successful sitcoms. I'm Mark Steinis.
And I'm Julie Moran. And in the early days of the 1980s, male characters wore the pants in prime time as viewers tuned in to watch headstrong working men like J.R. Ewing, George Jefferson, and Thomas Magnum.
But when Who's the Boss premiered on September 20th, 1984, viewers were ready for a little role reversal.
What are you doing?
Oh, this is called aerobic house cleaning. You stay lean while you clean.
Who's the Boss was just one of 3 show ideas pitched to Tony Danza after his breakout success on Taxi.
In one, I was to play a daring helicopter pilot. In another, I was to play a tough New York City detective. And in a third, I was to play a housekeeper for a woman and her mother. And of course, what else would I pick,
When I looked at Tony, I just fell in love with him. We just connected immediately.
The show was a chance for this former boxer to poke fun at his macho image.
And this Tony, is he male or is he male? I mean, we are talking mucho macho here.
And Who's the Boss hit home with audiences in the mid-1980s. For the first time in history, some 50% of all American mothers had joined the workforce.
The idea in those days of role reversal, it was happening. I mean, women were going out in the workforce, men were staying home with the kids, and it wasn't, the world was not coming to an end.
And you, manja.
Yuck. Isn't there anything else?
Yeah, hunger.
Tony Maselli was a widower with a daughter who was fed up with living in New York City. Angela Bauer was a suburban widow juggling motherhood with a career. At least 4 actresses were serious contenders for the role until Tony and Judith Light had their screen test, and Tony really eyed her.
She immediately went, "What are you looking at?" And caught me. And I was like, "This is pretty good."
It's just turned around. And I think I said, "What are you looking at?" or something like that. Or there was some response from me to him, and I think that's when everybody knew. And he knew, and I knew, and we were just connected. And we still are.
Judith, whose hair is growing back from a recent role, was best known at the time for her tearful Emmy-winning performance on the daytime drama One Life to Live.
That I am a common hooker like Katrina Carr.
She did everything. She sobbed incessantly for years.
Who are you anyway? Jiminy Cricket?
I'm just trying to...
She came in there, and I said, "Oh, she's going to be funny."
You have a lovely home and you're so pretty.
Oh, thank you. I'm very flattered.
That's the idea.
Audiences immediately fell in love with Alyssa Milano as Tony's daughter. During the show's 8-year run, she grew from an assured 11-year-old into a poised young adult. And E.T. was there as she and Danny Pintaro, who played Judith's son, attended school on the set.
What's going to be the common denominator? I pretty much feel like I've traded things in. I've traded going after school and going to the movies for rehearsing. And, that's part of the business. And I knew that before I decided to be an actress. I would definitely recommend this to other kids. It's a lot of fun.
Danny remembers a lot of downtime.
Oh, here comes my scene. All right, here's my 3 lines. Boom, I'm done. All right, now I'll sit around some more, you know. But I loved it. I loved it.
Katherine Helmond, who played Judith's mom, says Tony always took pride in these budding young stars.
He used to put their report cards up on a bulletin board so that everybody got to see if they made good grades and all the things that they accomplished.
Rhoda Gemignani played Mrs. Rossini, Tony's old neighbor from Brooklyn.
It was a joy from the beginning. It really was. It all fit into place.
Still, the show was almost canceled during its first season.
After, I think, 3 or 4 weeks, they took us off the air.
Tony then appealed to the executive who supervised the show.
And I called him up and I said, "Hey, Lou, how can you send us all home for Thanksgiving and Christmas without knowing if we have a job?" And he goes, "Tony, I don't know if I have a job." So it was pretty hard to argue that.
Then, during summer reruns, the show won bigger and bigger ratings. The good news was ABC brought it back. The bad news was that it was opposite NBC's powerhouse, the A-Team. But Tony loved the challenge.
I said, "Well, you better tell Mr. T to get rid of some of that gold." Start hawking that gold. He's going to need it. And what happened was we opened big. We opened huge.
Who's the Boss not only became a ratings hit, it spawned a British version of the show called The Upper Hand, which used the very same scripts.
I love you. I've loved you for a long time.
The co-creators of the show were amazed.
I'm surprised by the success on both sides of the Atlantic. You come up with something and you hope it works, but who knows?
Who's the Boss was not only a TV favorite, studio audiences loved to see the show filmed.
The women on the show would actually race to see who could get dressed fastest. Now, that's a rarity in Hollywood.
And he used to go out and talk to the audience. And he would say, "Okay, girls, hit it." And we would run and try to see who could get dressed the fastest, you know, and he would talk to the audience. And he would announce, 35 seconds, 45 seconds, okay, 1.5 minutes. I better see some girls out here. And he made it very playful.
It was a very unique experience that I know I and everybody else who was involved in it treasures.
Coming up on Entertainment Tonight's Inside Who's the Boss?
Did Tony Danza throw temper tantrums behind the scenes? We go behind the rumors that claim Tony's behavior led to turmoil on the set.
He always wanted the best thing for the show.
I don't remember my next line.
Never before seen bloopers and Tony's practical jokes.
Sit easy.
Only we can show you the hilarious moments that ended up on the cutting room floor.
I need help. I need help.
Danny Pintaro's obsessed fan. How a series of eerie letters led the cast's youngest co-star to confront an admirer who crossed the line.
It's been 10 years and I still can't let my guard down.
That's coming up on Inside Who's the Boss?
There's a time for love and a time for living.
Inside Who's the Boss? Over the years, the sitcom's cast worked with a slew of future primetime stars. Jane Leeds, Delta Burke, and Fran Drescher all appeared in guest roles.
Tony Danza's on-screen antics were just the beginning of the laughs on the set. And now only we can show you the never-before-seen outtakes of the cast losing control.
Since we're starting out on a, you know, on a new line that I don't know. You know, now this line I don't know either.
Okay.
Hold on. It's sort of like another line that I don't know.
I'm gonna get out.
Like fate trying to talk to us here, you know what I mean? Fate trying to tell me my lines. Because
I need help. I need help.
This rare collection of Boss bloopers was originally created by the sitcom's crew in 1992 and was shown at the wrap party after the final season. The camera even caught Tony keeping track of his co-stars' mistakes.
We're gonna count this show.
Jonathan and I aren't even in the, whatever we are.
You're not?
We're not.
You must be.
All right, so now the score is 2-1. Yeah.
It's not like I get...
2-2.
2-2.
The important thing is he's going to think that that's how you get jobs, through who you know.
I don't remember my next line. It's so simple.
Like you.
I'm sorry. I'm really, really sorry. I really apologize.
You can't.
I'm gonna get a beating for this.
It's it easy.
Judith Light did get her revenge, surprising her leading man by bearing it all during a scene.
Tony just about died. This is not what he was expecting.
After 172 episodes, you can bet that is just the tip of the iceberg. Coming up on E.T., more Unseen Who's the Boss bloopers. Tony slips up in an outrageous outtake, and you won't believe his co-star's reaction. Lost footage from the set of the last episode as the cast takes their final bow. And a rare look at Tony behind the scenes with his real-life daughter.
Is your father the best actor you ever saw in your life?
No.
The day Tony thought he was paralyzed for life.
You wake up on a respirator, you look up, everybody's crying.
Danza looks back on the brutal accident that nearly killed him.
That's coming up on Inside Who's the Boss.
There's a time for love and a time for living.
When there's freezing.
Entered the 1990s, it dropped out of the Nielsen's top 25 for the first time in 7 years. Sensing the sitcom had run its course, the network pulled the plug, and the final episode aired in April of 1992.
Now, as they look back on those final days, some members of the cast insist they were canceled before their time.
We could have had more, I think. I do. I think we could have gone on even longer.
I would have been happy for it to go on. I really would have. I thought that it could have run 10 years.
First of all, we weren't getting the ratings that we had once done, and we had run our course. And you didn't want to hang on and have them tell you to go.
The stars of Who's the Boss may have had differing opinions about the show's ultimate demise, but Danny Pintaro said when Tony Danza and the producers decided it was time to go, it probably was the best thing.
Our ratings were just barely starting to go down. We were just starting to not know what to do next. Let's stop now before we cut ourselves to pieces. And I think that was very smart of us.
It was a good time to leave. We were already on Saturday night, which is sort of was at the time, and probably still to this day, is the graveyard shift.
Alyssa Milano!
In this never-before-seen footage from the set only minutes after the final scene was shot, it was clear that ending the show hurt, whether or not it was time to go. The show had come a long way since it debuted in 1984. The kids on the show had grown up, especially Alyssa Milano. She was only 11 in the first season, and at 19, her character got married. In 1992, Alyssa said the show mirrored life.
We did a show called Sam's First Bra, and then Sam's First Hickey, and then Sam gets her driver's license, and then Sam goes to college. Now she's married. It's a lot of growing up. No! Oh, Dad.
Danza became a second father to Pintaro and Milano, and it was a role he cherished. He also enjoyed bringing his young daughter Katie to the set, and she seemed to get just as many laughs as her dad.
Is your father the best actor you ever saw in your life?
No.
Tony!
Don't kiss me, I'm gonna vomit.
The show's finale was broken down into 3 parts. Tony had taken a job in Iowa as a college professor and baseball coach. He was engaged to Angela, and they tried to keep the relationship going.
What are we saying here? That we can't make this work? That it's over?
Judith Light is still overcome with emotion when she recalls taping that final episode.
Opening the door for the final moment was so hard. I said to Tony, just don't go there. I said, if I look at you, I won't go there if you don't go there. I said, just help me get through this.
The last show was awful, and they had to have it end the same way it began just to make us that much more upset about the whole thing.
It was a well-thought-out plan to have Angela, just as she had in the show's premiere episode, in her robe and answering the door to find Tony standing there.
Do you always wear that outfit when you're interviewing housekeepers?
Those last bits of dialogue between us were very hard for me.
And I have this great memory of Alyssa and I standing there hugging each other and crying while Tony and Judith were doing that last bit, and it was awful, awful. And I do miss it a lot, I still do.
You got up every day and went to work with these people and enjoyed this and that and talked, and now those people, even though you stay in touch, are not going to be as big a part of your life as they were, and you know that, and that's sad.
Judith Light may be best known for her days on Who's the Boss, but she also found success as a dramatic actress as well. And in 1989, she took a role in a TV movie that changed her life forever.
It's a big story. It's an important story.
To call it an important story seems like an understatement now, but looking back, Judith could not have known just how important it would become in her own life. Her role in the true tale of a young boy stricken with HIV ultimately inspired her dedication to fight against AIDS.
I had been hearing about people that I knew that were dying, but I really became more committed to the issue when I did the movie The Ryan White Story for ABC.
E.T. was on the set as Light portrayed Ryan's mother, Jean White, with her real-life inspiration looking on. Young Lucas Haas played Ryan, the child who contracted the AIDS virus through a blood transfusion and became a national hero for his fight against the prejudices associated with the disease.
I heard Ryan give an interview one day, and he said that people spit at him and called him a fag, and I said, no, that's not okay. Not just because it's not okay for Ryan, it's not okay for my friends who are gay.
Since then, Judith herself has become a national figure for her support of AIDS-related charities and participates in the annual California AIDS Ride.
It's almost 600 miles from San Francisco to Los Angeles on a bike. Something that I thought that I never could do or never wanted to do.
The actress seems to have devoted herself to doing just that, what she thought she could never do. In 1999, she overcame her fear and returned to the stage after a 22-year absence to play a cancer victim in the acclaimed Broadway production, Wit.
I was really scared. Then I looked at Tony, and again, he had been my role model in so many ways. And he had gone to Broadway, and Tony hadn't been on the stage before.
In Wit, she was another level. That was something that, I don't think many people have seen.
You're going to have to do all kinds of courageous things that you are terrified to do. You're going to have to shave your head. And you're totally attached to your hair. I mean, if you show any of the pictures of Who's the Boss, which I suspect you will, you'll see lots of big hair. Today I was leaving and my housekeeper was so sweet. She said, "Oh, you look like Sharon Stone." And I thought, that is not a bad way to look.
Since Who's the Boss left the air, Light has continued to work in television. In 1993, she briefly returned to the sitcom world with the short-lived series Phenom.
He's got a sense of humor.
For Judith's TV mom, Katherine Helmond, their sitcom was but one successful stop in a career spanning 3 decades.
Soap was the first one, then Who's the Boss, then I went to work on the last few years of Coach, and now I've been working on Everybody Loves Raymond. I really got lucky.
More recently, she's appeared on NBC's smash hit Providence. But all the TV work is ironic, since Helmond first came to Hollywood with dreams of the theater.
While here, Gunsmoke called and said, "We'd like for you to do a show." And I said, "Oh, I think you've made a mistake. I'm a stage actor."
But in a 1986 E.T. interview, Katherine was grateful her TV work had won her so many fans.
I go to New York, I walk down the street and people's heads are down and they look up and say, "You're funny, kid, you're funny."
Coming up on Entertainment Tonight's Inside Who's the Boss?
A tabloid forces Danny Pintaro to come out of the closet. How E.T. helped him reveal his sexuality with pride.
I've gotten lots of fan mail from kids saying I was this close to killing myself, and then I saw this thing on E.T.
Behind the rumors that claim Tony Danza screamed demands on the set, the reports that say the crew blame their leading man for turbulent times. Alyssa Milano's ill-fated marriage to a rock star. The story behind the relationship that ended after only 11 months, and her rise to sex symbol status.
I didn't necessarily expect her to become, a sex pot.
That's coming up on Inside Who's the Boss.
There's a time for love and a time for living.
Tonight, Inside Who's the Boss. Before he became an actor, Tony Danza stepped into the ring as a professional boxer. But did you know that he fought in 2 matches after appearing on Taxi? He won both times.
More than a decade after Who's the Boss debuted, co-star Danny Pintaro realized he was gay. And when a tabloid threatened to out him publicly, Danny asked E.T. to help him announce his homosexuality with dignity.
I've gotten lots of fan mail from kids saying I was this close to killing myself, and then I saw this thing on E.T. and here I am still alive.
The segment aired on July 9th, 1997.
This is a good time for it, and I'm glad that I can now say that everybody knows it.
He was a college senior at Stanford University, and though Danny had come out to his family and friends and was living an openly gay lifestyle, he hadn't really intended on going public with his sexual preference. But his hand was forced by the National Enquirer.
They called me up and said they'd heard it, and we're going to do a story about it, whether I liked it or not, and do you want to talk to us about it?
It looks like a showdown between your snake and your mother. And remember, a snake doesn't pay your allowance.
Good point. Well, sorry, Wilbur. Money talks and you don't.
When Danny joined the cast of Who's the Boss, he was just 8 years old. He spent his formative teen years on the set.
Danny always had girlfriends that he was bringing around, and it wasn't like everybody or any of us or I thought to think, oh, gee, he's gay, why would he be doing that?
Danny says he wasn't pretending to be straight. It just took a while for him to get in touch with his true feelings.
It was really late. I was in college. I was engaged to be married. I was very happy, and I still love the girl that I was with, and I just sort of had a moment where I said, oh, I should think about this, and I should deal with this.
Danny confided in his parents, who were supportive but found it initially difficult to deal with his coming out. He also told his TV folks.
If that's his choice and how he feels, then I have to support him because I love him and he loves me. I mean, the conversation is private, but suffice to say that I want him to have the life that he wants to have, and in that I need to support him.
When he came out to me and told me that he was gay, I have to tell you that I was very excited. I was excited that he was himself, that he was out, that he was proud, that he was being courageous, that he was being the person he was always meant to be.
Almost a year after Danny had privately acknowledged his homosexuality, the Enquirer made their move.
The thing that Judith said to me was that if they're going to do this story about you, you might as well talk to them, because if they're going to do anything, it's quote you right. So, they'll say whatever they want about you, but they can't misquote you, so at least talk to them. I'm very grateful to say that it was a very good article.
Once the news broke, Danny did only one TV interview with Entertainment Tonight.
We're more like you than you can imagine, and I think that's our goal, is to make people figure that out. Just by virtue of coming out, I all of a sudden became this role model, and I really loved that.
In the end, going public turned out to be a positive experience, but Danny learned at an early age that being in the public eye can have a terrible dark side.
It's been 10 years, and I still can't let my guard down.
You must be Jonathan.
That's right, how'd you know?
Your grandmother told me. You're king of the reptiles, right?
That's me!
Playing the cute and rambunctious Jonathan Bauer for 8 seasons brought Danny fame, fortune, and fans.
Hi, honey, I missed you.
But letters sent by one admirer frightened Danny's parents. Danny says the notes weren't graphic, but there was something about them that caused alarm.
He was scary enough that my parents thought that he should know that this isn't right. And as soon as we let him know by saying that we needed to bring him into court, I guess he freaked out or didn't want to experience that, and he took his life. It's a sad thing, but he'd been doing it for a long time, and I wasn't the only actor that he'd done it to, and we were just the first people to actually confront him about it. And it's sort of, as soon as you confront him, the cat's let out of the bag, and oh God, what do I do now? And he just couldn't handle it, I guess.
Today, Danny looks back at his TV years fondly, but says he doubts he'd ever return to the small screen. He prefers to pursue his passion for live theater. He recently toured in an original stage production and is focusing on directing. He admits coming out has changed things.
Yeah, it has affected my career in some ways, because being a gay celebrity or being a gay actor is just naturally like that. Even if I weren't outed, you know, I'm a fairly open gay person, so, you know, just in general, I'll have to deal with that.
Coming up on Entertainment Tonight's Inside Who's the Boss?
Tony Danza faces the most challenging year of his life.
The accident changed my life. It made me change for the better.
Tony's triumphant comeback after a near-fatal accident and the family tragedy that haunts him to this day.
Can't get over that one.
That's why you'd never find Angela in a meat market like this.
Sure you would. She's right over there.
Holy shit. And you would never find Angela in a meat market like this.
Sure you would. She's right over there.
Oh my God.
Holy
It's pretty easy to see why Tony Danza's days on the set were happy ones. But just 1 year after Who's the Boss left the air, he faced the darkest days of his life. Just as Tony was beginning a new chapter in his career, an accident nearly killed him.
When you get better, you go, but I better do what I was thinking I should do, because who knows, tomorrow I might hit another tree and not be as lucky.
It was a watershed moment, a collision that changed Tony forever. He was feeling flushed from having just completed a successful run off Broadway and had made his annual Christmas trek to his Utah home. Skiing a familiar run on December 28, 1993, Tony caught an edge, lost control, and smacked into a tree at a speed estimated at 30 miles per hour.
I do a bad joke. You know when you're on a respirator? You wake up on a respirator, you look up, everybody's crying, including the priest. You say, man, I need a second opinion.
His injuries were extensive and life-threatening. Tony underwent emergency surgery to stop the internal bleeding from 6 broken ribs. One punctured his lung, another his liver. He fractured his leg and tore up his knee. But the 2 broken vertebrae in his back gave Tony his greatest concern. He feared he'd be paralyzed for life.
It scared you, it just scares you, and you don't know what your life is going to be like.
And Tony would soon be hit with another big scare.
I was in a bad run there. I lost my mother 6 months before the accident, and then I had the accident. They sent me home after 3 weeks in the hospital, and I talked the doctor into letting me go because my kids were here. My wife was with me in Utah. We get home, and 3 days later, the world explodes.
On January 17, 1994, Los Angeles was rocked by the 6.7 magnitude Northridge earthquake. Tony's neighborhood was particularly hard hit.
We had the earthquake, and we lost our house. So it was a crazy run. We had all that good fortune, and then we had some bad fortune. So that's what life's about. The hardest, of course, was losing my mom. Can't get over that one.
But Tony bounced back with the help of his second wife, Tracy, and their 2 children. By May 1995, he was in a recording studio lending his voice to a children's show, and his accident was slowly becoming a thing of the past.
I'm about 4.5 months out. I'm walking. I have some residual problems that I have to work on. I'm in therapy.
Before that turbulent year, it had been mostly smooth sailing for Tony. In 1978, the inexperienced young actor landed the role of boxer-turned-cabbie Tony Banta on the hit comedy Taxi. When that show ended after 5 seasons, Tony scored his own sitcom, playing another Tony, this one Maselli, the leading man of Who's the Boss.
Let me tell you one thing, Angela. You'd never catch me doing something dumb like sleep with my employer.
Banta was a very sweet kid, but he really couldn't see any further than the edge of his nose. And Banta was less of a realist than Maselli. Maselli was a realist. I think he had dreams, but he knew that he had to do certain things like he had to take care of his daughter, and his dreams had to be second to that.
Is this a switch, huh? The woman cooking and the man bringing home the bacon. I come a long way, baby.
People used to ask me, are you in Who's the Boss? Are you acting, or are you just being yourself? And I would say, well, actually, it's me in a good mood.
Danny Pintaro believes Tony at times felt the pressure of carrying the show.
Very early in the show, he was had a little bit of a temper, and we'd watch our steps sometimes.
He always wanted the best thing for the show. His way of expressing himself was often something that we understood not as anger, but as zeal and love for the product. We were trying to do the best thing that we could.
But one later outburst on the set was chronicled. In 1989, TV Guide ran an item reporting that the star was, quote, yelling and screaming and making demands during production of the show's 6th episode. Upon completion of the show, Tony reportedly handed out T-shirts with the slogan, "I survived week 6." Sources say the crew refused to wear the shirts because the only one to be blamed for the bad week was Tony. After the Grand Slam success of Who's the Boss, Tony found it hard to get another hit. His next comedy, Hudson Street, didn't make it beyond the first season, and the Tony Danza Show suffered a similar fate. But this season, the TV veteran has joined the CBS drama Family Law as part of the ensemble cast.
Not carrying it is one of the things that made it attractive. You just had to come to work. It's kind of nice.
And this year, after more than 2 decades in the business, he earned his first Emmy nomination for his guest work on The Practice. Tony has also found success acting on the Broadway stage and with a cabaret act. Now 49, he says he wouldn't have even pursued his dream of being a song and dance man if it hadn't been for the accident, an event he no longer looks back on with horror.
One of the things that I try to do a lot is try to make a positive out of a negative, and even that is a positive. The accident changed my life. It made me change for the better.
Coming up on Entertainment Tonight's Inside Who's the Boss?
Alyssa Milano's nude photo controversy and how it inspired her to lead the fight against celebrity exploitation on the internet.
I feel like a total pioneer. I'm very proud of what my mom and I have accomplished.
And we are flashing back more than a decade for the never-before-seen outtakes of Alyssa ribbing her TV dad.
Come on, Tony, I'm not getting any younger.
That's coming up on Inside Who's the Boss?
There's a time for love and a time for living.
Dad, do you think I'm shallow?
Sure, you spend a lot of time on the phone talking to your friends and a lot of time at the mall buying clothes and then...
A lot of time combing my hair
Is that
in
it?
front of the...
Yeah, huh?
Tape continues. Come on, Tony, I'm not getting any younger.
Dad, do you think I'm shallow?
You bet your life.
Moments like that one helped Alyssa Milano win America's heart. But after 8 seasons as spunky Samantha Maselli, Alyssa found it difficult to shake her good girl image until she recreated herself with a series of sexually charged roles. It is hard to believe this sultry 28-year-old with a belly button piercing and numerous tattoos is the same tiny tomboy who sported a shiner in the very first episode. But Alyssa had a plan early on to show the world Samantha was becoming a woman.
How does he know? How does he always know? It's something that we'd like to go towards, not having such a teeny bopper reputation and stuff, because I'm 17 now and growing up.
At Home with Alyssa in 1990, the talented teen talked to us about revealing a different side with this pose for a fitness magazine.
I had never done a picture in a 2-piece bathing suit, and I was pretty nervous, but you know what I thought about while I was doing it was that I was just doing it for those people that were there. I didn't think that it was going to go out to the public.
Born in Brooklyn, Alyssa's public life began at the age of 8 when she joined a touring production of the musical Annie.
It got me up on the stage, and I heard the applause. Right then, it was all over. I knew to myself, I said to myself, this is it forever.
By age 11, she was Tony's little girl. And just a year later, she co-starred as Arnold Schwarzenegger's daughter in Commando. At the time, Alyssa told us her sights were set high.
I think that's one of the problems, that if you achieve so many things when you're younger, you don't have anything to climb up when you get older. But, I'd like to direct when I get older, and maybe write. But, for now, I'll just be an actress. Just leave. Go away. Take your hair for a walk.
In 1990, E.T. joined the young actress on the set of the movie Little Sister, co-starring Jonathan Silverman. She jumped at the chance to moonlight from Who's the Boss.
For the past 7 years, I've done the same thing every day. You know, I've been with the same people. So I was excited. I was like, oh, new people, new lines, you know, new words.
Alyssa was also exploring new opportunities overseas. She recorded 5 albums in Japan, and they all went platinum. Meanwhile, in the States, she became a fitness role model for America's youth, who even starred in her own exercise video.
Good idea. We can
Alyssa looks back fondly on her boss years, but when it finally came to a teary end in 1992, she wasted little time shedding her squeaky clean image. The very next year, she played against type in a TV movie about Amy Fisher, the mistress of Joey Buttafuoco, who shot his wife.
He knew I was gonna kill Mary Jo. He promised me that with Mary Jo out of the way, that we could be together.
I just hope to keep working and be happy. That's like the most important thing to me is to stay happy, and whatever that takes, I will try to do.
Now in her 20s, Alyssa turned up the heat in sexy B films such as Poison Ivy 2 and Embrace of the Vampire. She even shocked the public when nude photos turned up in a national magazine.
If she felt that what she had to do was shed her good girl image, well then that's what she felt that she had to do.
I didn't necessarily expect her to become a sex pot, and you just never know. But it's not really a shock.
It's interesting about Alyssa. She never had an awkward period. She went from a beautiful child to a cute teenager to a stunning young woman.
All right, very good.
In 1997, Alyssa's stunning looks made her right at home on the sexually charged Melrose Place, and the role thrust her back into the public eye at age 24.
If I could survive 8 years on a family sitcom in the 80s, I'm gonna do okay on Melrose Place.
All of a sudden, here she is, Alyssa Milano, this beautiful adult woman, you know, it did her well. It did her really well.
Unfortunately, Alyssa's racy new image also led to problems. The explosion of websites posting nude celebrity shots included explicit pictures of Alyssa. Some of the shots were taken illegally from a film. Others were fake. The actress quickly joined forces with her manager mom, Lynn, to fight back.
I was angry. I want to protect my child and all of my clients from this.
They filed suit against several sites, and in 1998, she scored a $230,000 judgment against one web designer.
I feel like a total pioneer. I'm very proud of what my mom and I have accomplished. I think it's really interesting because I don't think celebrities realize that there were things that could be done, you know, and I'm glad that I opened up that door to everyone to get out there and not be taken advantage of.
In 1998, Alyssa also found love for the second time after a failed engagement in 1994 to actor Scott Wolf. Her new man was rocker St. John Tate. They wed on New Year's Day 1999, but divorced less than a year later. We talked to Alyssa just months after she said I do, when E.T. and TV Guide named her one of TV's sexiest stars.
How about a sweating upper lip? Is that sexy? Marriage is sexy to me. I just got married. So it's a whole new arena.
But there were signs her marriage wouldn't last.
He tours a lot. He's a musician, so we're used to being separated most of the time. So this has been the first, 3 months where we've actually been together every day. And it's been great, but I'm a very independent person. He's very independent, so I'm looking forward to, having some me time again.
Today, Alyssa continues to cast her spell in primetime as one of the sexy witches on the WB series Charmed, who always seem to wind up in curious predicaments.
She's been able to just, hold on and become a big star. And it has a lot to do with her talent, and her beauty, but it also has a lot to do with who she is.
As if her sitcom success wasn't enough, Alyssa was immortalized by Disney in 1989 when animators used her photo to help create the title character in The Little Mermaid. We'll be right back.
In 1984, was it Latin heartthrob Ricky Martin, Enrique Iglesias, or Mark Anthony who said of being on a date, "I feel great, yeah, very happy"? Your answer is coming up in the Entertainment Tonight birthdays. Close. Celebrating an E.T.-style birthday on Saturday, Susan Lucci is 51, and Spinal Tap's Carrie Shearer is 57.
Blowing out the birthday candles on Christmas Eve, the Drew Carey Show's Diedrich Bader is 34. And in 1984, which Latin heartthrob said of being on a date?
Great, man. Yeah, very happy.
That is Ricky Martin, who turns 29.
2
Tuesday on Entertainment Tonight, Jim Carrey and Renee Zellweger call it quits. Cindy Williams' custody fight with Kate Hudson's dad. It's the E.T. cover story with the divorce papers and the latest on Harrison Ford's separation. Did he spend Christmas with his wife? Only we have the Survivor tape with the footage you never saw on TV. The first time the castaways met, the kicked-off contestants, and the on-the-beach weight challenge they cut from the show.
Today I've lost 9.
Plus, would Survivor flash the camera on the audition tape she sent in? That's Tuesday.
Despite its popularity, Who's the Boss never reached #1 on Nielsen's top 10 list. But back then, larger audiences tuned into network television, and at the height of its popularity, the show reached more viewers than Friends.
Unbelievable. Well, that's all for us tonight. We leave you now with a preview of next weekend's ET and all the stories you never knew about the stars of Full House. Good night, everybody.
Bye-bye.